I really want more Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order content, like a new planet, more customization options and skills, maybe a side story with Cal now that we got a larger crew and the main story is behind us. The question now is though, do we have to wait for the sequel, so that is like 3 years from now likely, or do we get an add-on or some sort of DLC before that? An investor was asking EA this exact question, and they had an answer, and it's pretty interesting. And also that they're looking for someone with live service experience. So let's go over that, and of course look at the awesome screenshots that you send me. A like would be really appreciated, and let's go. EA wanted to sell 6 to 8 million units of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order before April 2020, so at the end of the fiscal year that ends on March 31st. But the game now already sold 8 million units as of December 31st, 2019. So now instead of the 8 million units, they expect to sell 10 million by March 31st, 2020, as we see in this tweet from analyst Daniel Ahmed, who listened to the EA financial call. So this of course huge and totally goes against what EA said in prior years, that single player games are dead. And how they actually phrase it is as follows: Star Wars has a big fan base, so working on both multiplayer titles like Battlefront and single player titles like Star Wars Jedi make a ton of sense, and is also something we should expect moving forward. So yes, we should totally expect Battlefront 3 at some point, but also more single player Star Wars games are on the way, and that's great news of course. They also seem to refer to Star Wars Jedi as its own franchise now, like this is a specific style of Star Wars play that we will totally see more of in the future. And now investors want to know how they will leverage that enormous player base, like we got 8 million units sold right now and 10 million at the end of March, so any content add-on or other paid DLC would totally sell a few million, you would think, right? Like I would buy it in a heartbeat. And also if you go to the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order Reddit or the official EA forums, you will always see people ask for some sort of add-on. Not adding any new DLC or paid stuff is basically leaving money on the table. Let's have a listen to what Andrew Wilson, the CEO of EA, had to say regarding DLC for Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I will link to the financial call in the video description as well if you want to hear it in full.
Very encouraged by the outperformance of Star Wars Jedi from Respawn. So you guys now have a large player base into which you could generate some additional revenue. So what is the opportunity ahead, either for to generate live services revenue from that in fiscal 22, and or maybe some sort of add-on, content pack for that game?
On Star Wars, no announcements of anything at this point, but what I would say is you're right, we have a very, very strong player base, a very engaged player base, who feel like what they've just had the ability to experience is one of the most compelling Star Wars experiences of their life, of any form or media.
I totally agree, by the way, like my favorite Star Wars game out there, and with Rogue One and The Mandalorian in my top 3 Star Wars media. Now let's move on to the interesting part about the live service and the DLC.
I would also highlight, it is a single player game, so any kind of live service or additional content would be different than what we would see in an Ultimate Team or an Apex Legends, but that this team who was working on this is one of the most creative teams in our company and certainly in the industry, who are thinking about where to take this journey next for players that love this style of play. We're excited by what they're going to come up with, and in the meantime, I also think that this will be one of the strongest catalog sellers for this company over the coming years, and will almost certainly help continue to grow our subscription as it moves into our various subscription offers across platforms.
Let's quickly touch on the last part first. So just like any EA game, Jedi Fallen Order will at some point come to the EA Access Vault, so that if you have a subscription you can play that game, although we are still far away from that. I would say summer 2020 is my bet. No, but the most interesting part from this quote is of course regarding the fact that any style of live service would be different for Jedi Fallen Order than the multiplayer games that EA has. Makes sense of course, because they're totally different. So Andrew is trying to keep the expectations real for the investors, but he also hints that the team at Respawn is very creative and that Andrew is excited by what they come up with to continue this journey. So kind of implying that they have something interesting, maybe unique planned. He doesn't outright say, don't expect any DLC for this game. He totally leaves that on the table. And then I want to go to the most recent job listing that I find very interesting. So this was posted this year for a technical director for the Respawn Star Wars team, and this person needs to have live service experience. Key responsibilities: monitor and troubleshoot live service issues, implement and run release management for a live service. And again, this is for the Star Wars team in Respawn, and as far as I know, they only have the Jedi team. And also a plus for this person would be to have leadership experience, developing and launching games, or running a large-scale live service. What do they have planned over there? This totally adds some extra nuance to that Andrew Wilson quote.
I would also highlight, it is a single player game, so any kind of live service or additional content would be different than what we would see in an Ultimate Team or an Apex Legends. But that this team who is working on this is one of the most creative teams in our company and certainly in the industry, who are thinking about where to take this journey next for players that love this style of play.
So it could totally be that they try to come up with something that makes sense for this game to extend to live, but that it's also something that is pretty unique for a game like this. Yes, I already hint at it here with the footage, but I just think that an arena mode, as we discussed before, with waves of enemies and a leaderboard online would be really awesome. Like, how long can you survive an unlimited amount of enemies and then you have like a global leaderboard per platform, or specific challenges maybe, like complete 5 waves of enemies with only the regular or the double-bladed lightsaber without any stims or skills. Creatures are specific to certain planets, so we do not see some of the combinations that they can include in this arena, so it will create some new combat encounters. Or let us fight the legendary creatures again, and maybe 2 at the same time, or some of the bosses from the main story. I totally think that it could add some needed longevity to this game. I'm curious to hear what you think. The recent news we discussed in other Jedi Fallen Order videos kind of hinted at them just moving on to the sequel immediately, but again, why would you need someone with live service experience in this Star Wars team if you have nothing planned? It could of course also be that they want to include some sort of live service elements in the sequel, and that's why they require the technical director to have some experience in that field. Also, something we learned from the EA financials is that all their upcoming games will have some sort of live service components. So things that happen post-launch that can be monetized in some way, including of course regular DLC. They made almost $1 billion from microtransactions in the last quarter alone, so not weird that they want to continue to grow there. But it will be interesting to see where the Star Wars Jedi franchise falls into this. I'm curious to hear what you think about all this. Let me know in the comments down below. Let's just not expect any DLC, like it's not confirmed whatsoever, but there are some interesting things going on behind the scenes from the looks of it. And I will of course keep an eye out and keep you up to date here on the channel, so totally subscribe for everything Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order if you haven't already. Like this video to support the channel, and let's look at some screenshots that you sent me via Twitter at JorRaptor, and you can also send them via a DM on Instagram as well, also JorRaptor. Follow me of course first and then send your shots. I will leave links to both my Twitter and Instagram in the pinned comments so you can easily reach it. And I received 2 very awesome shots from Vagos. One with the orange lightsaber that is now unlocked for everyone, so not only for people that pre-ordered the game, shining in the dark location on Sevo to better see the hologram of the trooper. Really cool stuff. He actually also made this really nice shot on Bogano with the fault in the background, and we see Cal go there too. Really nice, thanks for sharing. Knesa also sent some cool pictures. One of 2 troopers on this starter planet that of course awaits you when you return later on in the game. And I love how the trooper on the right is blurry. Really nicely done. And I also love this picture of the crash site, where you actually do see Cal if you look carefully. Really nice shot, thanks for sharing. Bespoke Furniture also sent an awesome picture where the lightsaber creates this awesome light around Cal while the rest of the shot is completely dark. Really like it. Thanks again for sharing. Links to my social pages are in the pinned comments if you got some pictures yourself. Again, subscribe for more Jedi Fallen Order videos and like the video too. And totally check out my previous video on some awesome mods that actually add outfits into the game. For now, I will speak to you next time and goodbye.